All right, so it's your first time picking up a skateboard and you're not sure what to do with it. Let's do something with it. So first of all, you got to discover whether you are a goofy foot or a regular foot. And so, it's kind of obvious, but what I just said, but goofy foot means your right foot is forward, and regular means your left foot is forward. So which way are you? Well, it just really depends on you. It's a kind of a decision you have to make, and the reason why I said discover is because there's no right or wrong way to do it. So what I usually recommend is just to maybe like jump and like have like a straight line and put both your feet on that straight line to see which one naturally kind of comes to you. So for me, I like to go goofy foot, but for you, my regular foot, I don't know. And the other way you can do it is just by like kind of standing on your board and trying to discover which one you like more. Do you like to put your left foot on first or your right foot on first? It really depends, okay? What I recommend for beginners is to take like a yoga pad, which I have over there, put it under so that you're not going to slip out when you first stand on your board, or just put it on some carpet or something. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to show you on the flat ground here that I have. So standing on your board is pretty simple. Let's just say you're a goofy foot like me. You're going to put your foot kind of right behind the front bolts and sort of at an angle. So you don't want to put your foot like this straight, and you don't want to put it like this either. You don't want to put it at an angle because it's sort of a natural way to do it. Because if you look at my back foot also needs to be able to push and to kind of do this motion here. This motion is really critical. Okay. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to put your foot on the back of the board. Sometimes I'll do that when I'm skating and I want to stop and turn around. I'll like move my foot to the back and then use this as sort of a moving point to move my board around. And I'm not going to ever want to push like that. And sometimes there's exceptions, like if I'm going switch stance and I want to push, but I'm just in kind of a bad position to try to push with my left foot forward or it's uncomfortable, I'll push for a second, but I'll usually do it like this and then kind of move and then position my feet like that after that. But you don't want to really get used to doing that too much. It's called Mongo foot, and that actually looks kind of silly. And it's kind of frowned upon by the community just because it's sort of like, a mistake that some beginners make and they don't really know any better. So anyway, just don't do it. Push with your right or your left foot in the front of the board, and then to stand on a board, what you want to do is you want to put your foot on the board first, just below the front bolts. And then you're going to transition your balance over that front foot to get your left foot on it. If you keep your shoulders and your hips and all that centered over the same, see how the knee and the toe are kind of lined up right here? That's kind of the idea. You want to have your hip and your knee and your toe all kind of in alignment, and then your balance will be nice and centered. And the trick really is to keeping your leg bent when you do it. Don't straighten your leg out. Practice being in a bent stance, kind of a martial arts thing. It's like kung fu style, so you're going to keep your leg bent. And a lot of the energy, a lot of the muscle tension is going to be in your thigh here. And that's how you get on the board, okay? So keeping your leg knee bent, keep that balance centered, and you'll be able to get on and off your board. So this is one of the first things you should learn, kind of like yoga and Pilates, like stepping on and off a little thing. But if you can balance yourself without slipping out by doing this sort of a thing, you're doing really good. And the point is just to sort of keep your shoulder and your toes steady while you can move your waist. So that's sort of the first thing you should do, is just kind of learn how to stand on your board still and not slip out, okay? And you can straighten your legs out if you're not moving around, but if you find yourself falling one way or the other, it's because your shoulders are going one way or the other, okay? So keep your shoulders aligned with your toes and your knees, and everything should be aligned, and you won't fall either way. You're going to be nice and centered. So that kind of goes along with the next point, which is to keep your left foot in the back of the board, but not too far back and not too far forward, but in the pocket. And this part of the board is called the pocket right here. It's this little section in between where the flat meets the tail, and it goes up. And this pocket is going to be kind of the center of where you can put tension in order to turn the board. In order to do flip tricks and stuff like that, it's going to be kind of centered around this pocket where the scoop is. So your front foot is in the front, sort of at an angle just behind the bolts, and your back foot is in that pocket. And that is the quintessential riding spot, because from this back position, you'll be able to turn the board whichever way you want. Okay? So that would be an example backside, that's front side. So this goes to the next point of the video, which is how to tic-tac. Tic-tacking is kind of cool because it's where you are standing over your board and you move to one side and then you move to the next and and you move back and forth until you start getting momentum and you go fast. Okay, you can use this to actually propel yourself forward almost any situation that you're in. So you just need to learn how to kind of balance yourself over your back foot while keeping a bit of tension on your front and then pushing into that back foot so that it pushes you forward and propels you forward. It's a little trick with physics here, but it's really in that your back foot is just behind the wheels and you use the balance between the ball of your foot and the heel to go back and forth on the ground until you start moving forward. So that's kind of the first thing you should learn is how to do this. And it's called a tic-tac. All right, now the next thing I want you to learn is how to stop yourself really easily, okay? Because when you're at a skate park and people are going around and, you might get in the way or you might just want to stop when you're going somewhere and not, fall. So learn how to stop yourself. There's a couple different good ways to do it. Let's say you're just moving forward. The first way, obviously, is just put your foot down, okay? And this works great if you're not really going that fast, because if you're just going forward, you can just kind of stop. And the way you do is you stomp, okay? So you say you're moving forward and boom. And so you got to put your weight back a little bit and boom. And you want to put your weight all into that and take your weight off the board. All right, so that's one thing you can do. Next thing you can do is if you want to stop and you're going forward, it's called a dragging position. And you kind of drag your toe off and you push down until you start hitting the concrete. And it's great for when you're going really fast and you want to slow down just a little bit. Creates kind of a brake lever on the ground. And I use this a lot, especially if I'm going downhill or something like that. And I just want to slow down a little bit, or I just want to speed check myself without having to move my board back or forth, changing my position, is just kind of do this. Okay? So I want you to learn that because that's a really good technique for stopping yourself very easy without having to turn or change your position. Another great way to stop yourself that actually looks really cool is to use your back foot as a lever on the very back of your board. Show you an example going very slowly here. You turn your back foot all the way and you press down without touching your tail on the ground. So normally you would think that you're going to stop, you're going to push your tail down to the ground all the way, right? And you kind of hear the board go down like that. But that's not what you want to do because that's going to mess up the tail of your board if you do it too much. So by hanging your back foot off the edge of it and all the way down, without touching your board on the ground and putting your heel down, a little bit to get used to for balance, but it's a really good technique, especially if you're going fast and you're kind of warming up for some stairs or something, is to just kind of be able to stop yourself real quick, okay? So that's one thing to do. Let's see, for beginners, another great way to do is to actually just learn how to pick up your board. So to pick up your board, it's really easy. Obviously, you can reach to the ground and pick it up, but then you're kind of squatting down a lot and it looks silly sometimes. So a good way to do it is to pop your board up. So usually I take my front foot or my back foot, doesn't really matter, okay? But just snap the tail and then grab it. So you can practice that, just hitting it at home, whatever, wherever you're at the skate park. You're just standing still, waiting for your run. You can just pop it up, kind of chill, look at it, move it around, check it out, look at the different parts, put it down. When you're ready to go, you might lose it, whatever, but usually you put your board down like this, you kind of put it like that, and then you get ready, and then you go, and if you want to stop, just stop. That's kind of how it looks when you're skating, and it'll just make you look more like a natural skateboarder, like you're advanced. Another cool little trick you can do over time, maybe something you can practice at home, is popping it up and then having it rest on your toe when you do it, kind of like that. And if it just sits there, it kind of cute, kind of fun thing to do. Maybe you're sitting at the street light or something, you pop it up and play with it. It's something you learn when you're just playing around a lot in the streets, just skating. Try not to hit your leg because that's going to hurt really bad with regular grip tape. All right, so once you've learned that, the next kind of thing you should do is actually learn how to skate a ramp. I'm here at home, and this is my mini ramp. And so really what I want you to learn is just how to go up and down on the ramp without falling. Easier said than done, obviously. I'll just kind of give you a quick tutorial. With this camera angle, unfortunately, you can't see my whole body, but you can kind of get the idea. So going up and down, basically, you want to keep your arms out to the side to keep yourself balanced. And you want to keep your legs really bent. And your shoulders and everything should kind of match where the board is at position-wise. So when you go up the ramp, you want to lean back a little bit. And you want to put a little bit of weight backwards, and it's really easy. Okay? And then when you learn how to go up and down the ramp without falling, the next thing is to learn how to pump. Pumping a ramp gives you more speed and allows you to do more tricks. And basically pumping means you want to put more pressure on the back foot, or the foot that's higher up the ramp, so that when it goes down the ramp, you push through, and that momentum kind of keeps the board going, and it goes faster even. So you can kind of see here in this video how I push on my right foot, I push on my left foot, push on the right foot, push on the left foot, and I start going higher. I can do the opposite, and I can push on the opposite foot and actually slow down the board too. So now left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, until I slow to a complete stop. You can really get your board to go higher or lower, get yourself higher or lower in a ramp just by simply changing the balance on your board and where you're standing and putting pressure. All right, and then more advanced techniques are like learning how to kick turn. So basically you're taking a tic-tac and you're going up and balancing on that back, and you're turning and then going back down the other way. Pretty easy, but once you start trying, you kind of see that's difficult at first. And it really requires you just to look where you're going, to turn your shoulders before you go. Okay, so you don't want to like try to look and then stop and fall, right? Because you're not turning all the way. You got to like look all the way through and then go. You kind of see how the camera like points you all the way through to the other end, and then it follows. So you got to look, move your shoulders, and then your body will follow. Same thing for front side. So learn the tic-tacs on the flat ground, and then you can learn how to kick turn on a ramp and pump on a ramp. And the next thing to do is to learn how to drop in on a ramp. And dropping in is pretty easy, but you can just kind of start on flat by holding like this, putting your feet and stomping forward, and then tic-tac from there. Okay, that's what I recommend doing, is just learn on flat and then learn on some sort of banked surface, and then you can take them to like more of a ramp. But the key is just leaning forward all the way. A lot of people mess up because their legs are straight and they don't commit, and they lean back and then slip out. Okay, that's the most common thing. And also it can happen is where you lean too far forward, you lost your balance, or maybe something stopped you and you fall. That happens too. So just the main thing is to keep yourself balanced, arms out, legs bent, knees bent. Start with your back foot, with your foot straight, and then get on the thing, and then you can drop in and your foot will move into position that way. And that's the proper stance for skating, depending on which way you're going. And do that. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this kind of beginner's tutorial. If you watched all the way through, thank you so much. And definitely subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you guys out there. Take care.